Namaskar. I, Shambhavi, welcome you all to your channel, Galactic Echoes. So let's start exploring the wisdom of Vedic astrology. So today we'll be doing a very interesting video on a very interesting topic, that is Darakarka in all the houses of your D9, that is Navamsa chart. What will happen and how your Darakarka, that is your spouse, will connect to your own personality post marriage. We'll try to understand it today with its position in all the houses. So let's move forward and let's dive. So when you have Darakaraka placed in the first house of your Navamsa chart, that is, whatever planet it is, your Darakaraka, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, or whatever planet is your Darakaraka, if it is placed in the first house of your Navamsa chart, the first and the foremost thing is whoever were you by your personality, whatever you had, your nuances to approach a particular problem, or whatever you thought about, your way of your method of reacting to a certain situations, everything would change with after the marriage. Why? Because Darakaraka is sitting in the first house of your Navamsha. Your personality, your true personality actually will be shaped by your spouse. This can also mean your and your spouse's private life, and your public life as a couple is drastically different with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the first house of your Navamsha. That the way you behave personally with him in your private rooms is completely different from the way you behave in the outer world to other people. This can also mean that your personality has been shaped by your Darakarak, that is your spouse, after marriage or in the process too. Your vitality, your health can also grow. It will definitely grow. But there can also be a down road to this placement, and it can only be decided from the placement of the sun in your Navamsha chart. Where the sun is placed, in what dignity it is, there is where you'll get to know the whole picture. What this Darakaraka, this spouse will be bringing in my life. Like for example, if you have your Darakaraka in the first house of your Navamsha, but if you have sun in, like, let's say, ninth house of your Navamsha chart, what it will suggest is that because of the fact that your spouse has so much of fortune, he has inherited fortune and then multiplied it. That is why he is trying to shape your personality into a better being. Because the placement of the sun in the ninth house is really good. He becomes a teacher to you. You see, this is what the placement will suggest. If the sun is in the seventh house, the placement would be changed. The relations, the methods would be changed into more of a business partner. He would teach you constantly to divide the responsibilities between you and him or her. He will nudge you to do these things, that we are a partner, we are in a partnership, and we should share the responsibilities equally. All of these things will happen when you have Darakaraka in the first house of your Navamsha. Also, it will be very important to check where this Darakaraka is sitting in the D1 chart, in your birth chart. Why? Because the birth chart is something what of a question, and the D9 chart is something how of a question. So let's say if your Darakaraka is sitting in the 10th house of your birth chart. So what you'll see is that your spouse is bringing in something related to your career. Either he's improving your career or he is, damaging your career. Both of the things can happen. It will totally depend on the dignity of your Darakaraka. But the how is answered from the Navamsha chart. How is he damaging your career? How is he uplifting, upgrading your career? Because he is directly impacting your own personality. This is how you'll be able to analyze this particular placement of the Darakaraka in a particular house in the Navamsha. So this is how you will decode the placement of the Darakaraka in the first house of your Navamsha chart. Now, if you want me to make a video on Darakaraka in all the houses of the D1 chart, you'll have to comment below in the comment section. So let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the second house of your Navamsha chart. Now, if you have your Darakaraka placed in the second house of your Navamsha chart, there is where what you'll see is that after marriage, your spouse will be the person shaping your values around familial values, hoarded wealth, and speech, inner world, or sensory pleasures. Like he will be the person or she will be the person telling you that these are the colors which are common in your clothes and they are totally wrong. You should not wear these particular color clothes. What you should do is shift to these particular colors and they would more suit you. This is what the Darakaraka in the second house represent. That your familial values, your sense of worth actually will be reshaped by your partner post marriage. He will be the or she will be the person to defining the second house again for you, and all of these things will happen in private. Like they will be the person telling you you should not wear these things because these colors they don't suit you. What you should go are with these many colors. And all of these things will happen in private. So it would not be a matter of shame for you, because if this is not something your spouse would come and he or she would shame you in front of others in public. No, this will not happen. This is not the case with this particular placement. Moreover, with the Darakaraka in the second house, you'll also check the placement of Jupiter in your Navamsa chart. If the Jupiter is well placed, your face would glow. Your voice would become more sweet. Your speech would be more structurized after marriage. You will wear good color clothes, which will suit you. You will also hoard wealth. Wealth will be something of a very great worth to you, not materialistically, but yes, there will be the presence of good amount of wealth coming in if the Jupiter is well placed in the Navamsa chart. If not well placed, all of these things of the second house can go downhill. Maybe I have also seen with this particular placement of the Darakaraka and the second house of the Navamsa that sometimes the person was not in a very good relation with their own family members, but after marriage they started to build a more rejuvenating sort of a relationship with their family members. Why? Because their spouse are telling them in private setting, in their private room, in your private room actually, that you should not behave like this to your family members and it should not be done this way. And post this thing, you are enlightened on these core values about worth, family, and relationship with your relatives and your hoarded wealth. All of these things will be there, and all of these things will happen if Jupiter is well placed. And these things will go into a direct opposite way if the Jupiter is ill placed in your Navamsa chart. So Jupiter's position is very important to be checked in Navamsa, and the hoarded wealth thing, which is the hoarded wealth setting, the most important thing in the Navamsa in the second house is the hoarded wealth factor. So how can it manifest is the placement of the Darakaraka and the D1 has to be checked for that. Why? Because the D1 chart is the what of our life and the D9 chart answers how of our life. So basically, let's take a scenario that if your Darakaraka is placed in the fourth house of your D1 chart and it is placed in the second house of your D9. So the fourth house is the what. It will answer the what question. So what is it suggesting is that your spouse, your partner would help you to build what? Emotional stability. He will give you what? Comfort. He will give you what? A stable home environment. The fourth house karakas. And how he'll be able to do it is through the second house, because he has immense wealth, because he has hoarded wealth. This is for sure how he'll be able to do it, because the Darakarka is sitting in the second house of the Navamsa, right? So the wealth factor comes in. So it can also indicate the Darakarka in the second house if your spouse is richer than you. The other thing is that what your spouse is telling you, is instilling the core values of the second house in your life and making the home environment more cozier for you, because it is sitting in the fourth house of the D1 chart. So the placement of the D1 chart of the Darakaraka in correspondence to this particular placement in the D9 has to be studied. Both of these placements are important to be studied in corresponding way. Otherwise, we will not be able to get the whole picture. Also, with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the second house of the Navamsa, your eating habits can also be controlled by your Darakaraka in many ways. Like you are a non-vegetarian, but your spouse and his family is purely vegetarian, so you have to give up those non-vegetarian habits. But that is something which will happen in the most specific cases. Like if your Mars and Rahu are in conjunction in your demon chart, but not in the D9, the Darakarka has become more sattvic, although it is a malefic planet with the tamasic energy, the sun. Let's say if your sun is your Darakarka and sitting in the second house, so it can suggest that you are becoming more sattvic post marriage if it has only benefic aspects. Jupiter, Venus, Moon, all of these things. But if not, if it is getting more tamasic, the opposite can also happen. So, in this way, we decode the placement of the Darakarka in the Navamsa. Darakarka is sitting with Ketu in the second house of your Navamsa chart. It does not mean that it is totally bad. My spouse would pressurize me to follow a vegan diet. All of these things will not happen. If your Darakarka is in conjunction with Ketu, it can simply mean that maybe your Darakarka would want your spouse would want you to have a nose piercing post marriage if you are a female, and if not, so maybe they'll want you to lower down the harsh tone in your voice. This is the most basic thing which we can see with this particular placement of in conjunction with Ketu. All of these things, the sign will matter a lot. The position of the Darakarka in the demon chart will matter a lot. But yes, this is the way to decode this particular placement of the Darakarka in the second house of the Navamsa chart. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakarka in the third house. So now, if your Darakarka is placed in the third house of your Navamsa chart, what it will suggest is that the spouse would want to foster a sibling or a close friend kind of a relationship with you. He would want to express all the things with you, and he would, want you to express all the things to him or her, like without judging. It is a very good placement because with Darakaraka, your spouse would, boost you to try new things, to give you full effort. He will be or she will be the person to support you in all the new ventures you perform in your life, new beginnings, or professionally, or anything in any way possible. He will be something of a support system to you. So this is really a good placement of the Darakaraka, the spouse of the Darakaraka in the third house. The Mars and its dignity has to be really checked when you have this placement of the Darakarka in the third house. And the Mars dignity should be checked in the Navamsa chart only. If the dignity of the Mars is really good, even if the Darakarka's dignity is not very good, the placement will manifest positively. But if not, it can go downwards also. So there would be also negative consequences of this particular placement, that the Darakarka, your spouse, is someone who is always demotivating you in all the efforts you take. But this rarely happens. The Mars's dignity, even if it is dignity, it is not compromised. So Mars is a special planet. It is not easily compromised in any chart. And spouse of such people would be very much fond of gossiping. Like they would want to, they would actually have this particular time frame in your daily life, that after going to bed, we'll have to gossip around 10, 20, 15 minutes, and then we'll go to sleep. This would be something very important in their personality. They can also have a Mercury dominated chart, either D1 or D9. But yes, the Mercurian traits will be enhanced in their personality. They'll be humorous, they'll be jovial, and they would want to joke around. You know, they would really want to connect you with your siblings, and they would want their siblings to connect with you. Like have a non-toxic relationship kind of a setting. They would really want to cherish moments of importance with your siblings as well and their siblings as well, your close friends as well and their close friends as well. They would also motivate you to go out on spending time with your co-workers also. All of these things you will see in your spouse. Now the placement of the Darakaraka in the D1 chart is very important to be analyzed. Why? Because the D1 chart is the what of our life, and the D9 chart is the how of our life. So, what and how are questions from the D1 and D9 charts respectively. So, let's say if your Darakarka is placed in the seventh house of your D1 chart. So, what it will suggest is that your partner is helping you to build more relationships, more business relationships. He would be motivating you to move towards establishing your own business. He would be the one balancing everything in your life, like your personal life versus your professional life. And how he will be able to do it is answered from the D9.
So if let's say if your Darakarka is sitting in the third house, so what you'll see is that because he's regularly communicating with you, that is why he's trying to motivate you to establish your business, to enhance your business partnership, and to work towards balancing out everything in your life. This is really a very good placement, and this is really a blessed kind of a placement. If you have this the seventh Darakarka in the seventh house of the D1 and in the third house of the D9, all the planets placed in the third house of the D9 are really very supportive, actually, towards marriage. There can be a peculiar thing with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the third house, that you might see that your spouse would not have had support system or kind of a gritty support from his father. That is something which you will see with particular placement of the Darakaraka in the third house of your Navamsa chart. So all of these things will manifest. As I said that the Mars's, position has to be checked in relation to the Darakaraka. But Darakaraka itself, if it is Mars or Saturn or Rahu or any, malefic energy is your Darakaraka, even then, this placement is really a blessed one. This placement is really a good one. And you will be facing no obstacles from the side of your Darakaraka. If your Darakaraka is well placed in the D1 chart and the seventh house also, half of your problems in the married life are solved actually with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the third house. Even if you encounter problems in your life, your Darakaraka, your spouse, would be the person that will steer through it collectively. It is a collective goal to fight against the tides, against the storms. So this is really a very good placement of the Darakaraka in the third house of the Navamsa chart. Let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the fourth house of your Navamsa chart.
Now, when you have the Darakaraka placed in the fourth house of your Navamsa chart, it can be a bit of a tricky place with this Darakaraka in the fourth house. How? Your Darakaraka will try to nourish you, nurture you extremely. They would be overprotective in some cases. They would want you to protect like a mother, which might not be liked by you in some cases. They would ask you regular questions, and they would ask you to, tell them where you are going and where you are not going. But it is coming out from a genuine safety concerns for you. But at your end, it can be taken as a suspicion by yours. That is why I've said it's a very tricky placement to take care of. That your Darakaraka is behaving like the way of your mother, and you are an adult. You are thinking, why are they behaving in these kind of manners? So this is the basic thing which can happen. But now the placement of the moon has to be really checked in your Navamsha. Its dignity, its placement, things which I've told you will depend totally on the moon. If it is in its own sign, in the sign of Cancer, or if it is an exalted state, all of these things will not be there. Like he or she will be the person asking you where are you going, but you will find it sweet. But if not, moon is in a compromised state, there is where the problem will come in with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the fourth house. Moreover, they would, prioritize home environment, home stability, emotional security, and fortifying your boundaries of the home too much. The other thing is with this Darakaraka that the Darakaraka has to be judged in the D1 chart also, because the D1 chart is the what of our life, and the D9 chart explains how of a life. So let's say if your Darakaraka is placed in the 10th house of your D1 chart and it is placed in the 4th house of your D9 Navamsa chart. So what we can show is that the father of your spouse was not a responsible person. He was the person, he did not care at all. He, spent his life only drinking and, wandering here and there. And there is where the problem arises in his or her, your spouse's homely comfort. You see, this is where the problem came from, because he attached his mindset that because of the fact that my father did not pay attention to his career, that is why we were struggling for even bare minimum in our lives. So now when your Darakaraka is in the fourth house of your Navamsa chart, what your spouse is thinking, that he's asking you where are you going, he's judging you on all the time you spend out in the world, and he is the person saying you to pay your attention in the home, in the homely comfort. Why? They have this particular fear in their mind that all those conditions might return. That is why they are the people, your spouse is completely paying attention on their career. And why only career? Because they want to give homely comfort to everyone possible. That is why they are judging you on everything. Why are you going there? Why are you, with whom are you going outside? Because they see these habits of yours, these behaviors of a person, not even yours, as totally waste of time. They only believe in working hard. They only believe in extracting most out of ourselves at the career front so that we can prepare a safe boundary for our loved ones. This is what the interpretation will go like with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the fourth house. So, although their aim is the fourth house, but they are completing it through their career. Why? The question will be answered through your divine chart, wherever the Darakarka is placed. So that is how you decode the placement of the Darakarka in the Navamsa chart in a particular house. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakarka in the fifth house of your Navamsa chart. Now, when you have your Darakarka in the fifth house of your Navamsa chart, what it will show is that your spouse is the person who triggers your creativity after your marriage. So you are the person more towards making progeny. So children, they'll play an important role in your married life. The creativity can also be seen the main focus area after your marriage. Your spouse will be the person to engage you more romantically in all sorts of activities. So this suggests us that your spouse is really a romantic person. He would want to manifest these things in your life as their spouse. Moreover, with the fifth house, they will also boost your confidence. I've seen people like they were, having low confidence and confidence issues before marriage, but after marriage, they are more confident and they are more outgoing. This is what the placement is. The Darakarka in the fifth house of the Navamsa chart. They'll boost your self respect, they'll boost your confidence, they'll reshape your performance in the outer world. How should you walk? How should you talk? All of these things they'll shape up in your life. So it is a good placement. Now it can also go a downhill if the Jupiter is not well placed in your Navamsa chart. So if Jupiter is well placed, all of these things will be in the positive side. If not, all of these things can go into the negative side. But that will totally depend on the position of the Jupiter in your Navamsa chart. And Jupiter's compromised state can also create problems in progeny too, like having children. The other thing is that if malefics with this particular Darakarka in the fifth house, it is not at all a problem actually. It will guide the Darakarka into the better and positive directions after your marriage. So this is important thing with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the fifth house, that even the malefics, the tamasic energy works in a better way in the fifth house of the Navamsha. The other thing is that the sustenance of problems, disputes can happen. You had a heated argument with your spouse, it can stretch up to a week. All of these things it can happen if the dignity of the Jupiter is compromised. If even if not, so it can stretch the issue can stretch up to some days or weeks, but the separation thing cannot happen. We cannot judge total separation from this particular thing of the Darakaraka in the fifth house, because it has to be promised in your divine chart then, this separation point. The other thing is the placement of the Darakaraka and the divine chart has to be analyzed very importantly. Why? Because the divine chart is the what of our life and the D9 chart is the how of our life. So the what is answered from the D1, how is answered from the D9, and they both make up our life. So let's say if your Darakarka is placed in the sixth house of your D1 chart, so what it will show is that your Darakarka is, helping you to solve your disputes, helping you to get rid of your debts, diseases, enemies. He's, maintaining a regular loop of daily routine in your life. He's the person motivating you to do some kind of a job, to compete some kind of an exam. All of these things can happen. And how is he doing it? Creatively. Because he is, boosting your inner self confidence. He's telling you to you can do it, you can go out, and you can achieve those things. Wisdom is there in yourself. This is how this placement will work. And a very important particular point with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the fifth house can be that your spouse will be bearing the responsibilities of his or her elder sibling. Like his or her elder sibling would be there, but he is the person or she is the person shouldering all the responsibilities with their parents. All of these things can be seen with this particular placement. So it is a very peculiar fact. So if you have to, take into consideration if I'll get married to this person or not, you can apply this. There is this Indian film star, Shah Rukh Khan. He is bearing the responsibility of his elder sibling. So his spouse, Gauri Khan, might have this particular placement of the Darakarka in the fifth house of her Navamsa chart. I don't know if she has this particular placement or not, but yes, this is the exactly thing which I'm telling you. And if this is something which you can apply in your particular practical lives. So let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the sixth house of your Navamsa chart. When you have your Darakaraka placed in the sixth house of your Navamsa chart, what it will show is that you might develop a tendency towards sticking to the daily routine. You would stick to making yourself healthy, and you would want to move towards the sixth house karakas. And the spouse is someone who will be behaving as a catalyst in your life, because he has followed the strict routine all his life or all her life. That is why they are the people nudging you to do so. Like if you were the most unorganized person before your marriage, you will become the most organized in your family after marriage with this particular placement. The darakarak, the spouse, is the person who is nudging you to work in those karakas. He would also want you to do the daily chores, and he would also nudge you to take up service roles like giving job interviews or attaching yourself with some kind of a government or some kind of a institution, so that you can earn your daily bread on a regular basis. So all of these things your spouse would nudge you to do. Spouse would always be there insisting upon settling in a foreign land. He can also be of the personality that he wants to spend his money and your collective money without keeping a track, or he would be someone who would be really interested in investments. What kind of investments we can do, what should be there, what are the different ways to multiply our wealth in, and this particular thing will depend on the sign and the planet also, which is placed in the sixth house of your Navamsa chart, being Darakaraka. So either there will be investments done by your spouse, or there will be expenditure done by your spouse. Both of the things will vary according to the particular condition. The other thing is that the Mars and its position in the Navamsa becomes extremely important for you to analyze in the Navamsa chart. Why? Because the Mars is showing the dignity of this Darakaraka. Even if the Darakaraka is debilitated in the Navamsa chart in the sixth house, a Dushtana house is involved. So the Martian dignity is something which will, behaving like a boost to this Darakaraka. Let's say if your Mars is in the 12th house, directly aspecting your Darakaraka in the Navamsa, what you can expect is your spouse is more towards investments. He would really be sticking, like I have to take out this much chunk from our monthly income, and we'll have to invest it for the future retirement or any plans which we are aiming at for the future, for our betterment in the future. These all things will be seen. Now, with this particular placement of the Darakarka, it really becomes important to see where the Darakarka is sitting in the D1 chart. Why? Because the D1 chart is the what of our life, and the D9 is the how. So let's say if you are in D1, Darakarka is placed in the 10th house. So this is answering what? Your career will is something your Darakaraka, your spouse, would be contributing in the 10th house. But how is he able to do that? To helping you to be more organized, because it is sitting in the sixth house in the Navamsha. In the private life, he's insisting upon you to be more organized, to stick to the daily routine. That is why he is the one who is contributing to your work front. All of these things are reflected in your work front, which better changes you are doing in your private life. So this is how you decode the placement of the Darakaraka in the Navamsha chart in the sixth house. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the seventh house of the Navamsa chart. Now, when you have your Darakaraka placed in the seventh house of your Navamsa chart, what you can expect is that your partner and your spouse is someone who is channelizing your partnerships, first of all. So basically, he's the anchor in your partnership, or she's the anchor in your partnership. Your partnership is totally dependent on him or her. Like, they are the people who, if their mood is good, your partnership is good. If their mood is bad, your partnership can go in the wrong direction. So this is, the whole scenario is actually dependent on themselves, their personality, their being. The other thing is that with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the seventh house, what you can see is that your partner, your spouse, is a fitness freak. He loves to, or she loves to, maintain a healthy body, and they are obsessed with oneself. And this obsession with oneself will come only if they are not in any kind of policing, healing, or acting jobs where their own body is not used. If they are not professionally related to any of these kind of jobs, any of these kind of professions, the obsession to oneself will be there for sure. They will think about themselves first, about others later on. But is it bad or good? Like, in what sense are they making it? Like, selfish behavior, if you want to say it that way, is wrong when you are harming others. You see, if you are not harming others and you are thinking about yourself, then that's good. So how will you be able to know this if they are selfish to that extent or not? Is from the dignity of the Venus in the Navamsha chart. Wherever the Venus is sitting, wherever it is placed, in what house, in what aspects, in what signs, this Venus will tell you what your spouse is actually moving towards. If the Venus is ill placed with malefics, there can be self obsession, which is in a wrong way present in them. But if the Venus is in a good dignity, then the selfishness is there, but not in the wrong way. Like, they would be more than neutral, that whatever you are doing, you can do it, whatever I'm doing, I'll do it. My activities would not harm you, and I expect same from you. This is something your spouse will be of this kind of mindset with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the seventh house of the Navamsha. The most important thing after all these things is that you'll have to check the Darakaraka's position in the D1 chart, because the D1 chart is the what of our life and the D9 is how. D9 chart is more of a private thing and D1 is more of a public thing. So your Darakaraka in the D1 chart is suggesting where this thing is being reflected. Like, let's say if your Darakaraka is placed in the first house of your D1 chart, so all of these things are reflected in your personality. People would think that you have become selfish and you have become self-obsessed, or in the positive manner, you have become a fitness freak. You are gymming daily, you are into sports activities, you are health conscious, but you were not before the marriage. So the reflection is, it is happening. Darakaraka is doing what is seen on the D1 chart. It is directly impacting your own personality if it is sitting in the first house. And how is he or she able to do it? From the D9 chart. Because they are self obsessed, because they are the people focusing on their own health. This is what is contributing in your personality to becoming like them. If the Darakaraka is placed in the first house of the D1, if not, if it is sitting in the fourth house, fifth house, 10th house, the results would be different. But the Darakaraka's position in correspondence to the D1 has to be checked to analyze the whole picture. But in overall, we can say it is a neutral placement of the Darakaraka in the seventh house. They can be selfish in the negative terms also, but that has to be promised in the D1 chart. That should be prominent in the D9 chart as well. Otherwise, this placement, what it suggests is that they'll be neutral. As I've said, they will be focusing on themselves, not on you. So maybe they are not very romantic kind of people. And if you are, it could be some kind of a bad news to you, because he's focusing on his or her own self. So they would be then more of a neutral person. They are doing their things, they expect you to do your things, and you both are in a partnership, but you are in your specific person spaces. So this is actually a tricky position with the Darakaraka in the seventh house of the D9.
but has to be analyzed very crucially in the D1 and the D9 chart too. If the conjunction and the planet's placement in a particular sign is there, all of these things can totally go into the opposite direction. So this is how you decode the placement of the Darakarka in the 7th house of your Navamsa chart. Now let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the Darakarka in the 8th house of your Navamsa chart. Now if you have your Darakaraka placed in the 8th house of your Navamsa chart, what you can expect out of this position is that your spouse is someone who will be tapping your hidden fears. They will be the person tapping it and healing it. So basically, with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the 8th house suggests that your spouse could have and could behave a kind of a catalyst in rejuvenation, about rejuvenation of your personality, of your own personality. They would focus on the sustenance of marriage. They will be the kind of person who will think that, the India, it is very prevalent that if you marry once, this is all. From here, we are a partner, we are a union, we are a team, and we'll move forward in this way only. So this is really a good placement from that perspective, that your partner would consider you as their own unit. Like you two are belonging to one single unit is what is their thinking is. In the marriage perspective, I'm telling. So the sustenance of marriage is really very important for them. It would be something, of a great deal to them, to their personality. That is why through this idea, the shared resources thing could some is something which can be very much prominent in your life, that you and your partner have so many joint bank accounts. You and your partner are, collectively invested in all the investment schemes, mutual funds, and all of these things. You both have a collective insurance. All of these things will be seen with the Darakaraka placed in the 8th house of your Navamsa chart. The other thing is, after marriage, you can also see transformations in your life, and that will be directly coming from your spouse. Maybe whatever he used to do before marriage, he or she suddenly abandons it and move in into a completely different direction. But will it be a positive transformation or a negative one? That has to be analyzed from the specific chart. But some kind of transformation will be there for sure. The other thing is that your partner, specifically in his personality, he can have a magical voice, a sweet voice, or something like a unique voice. Like his voice or her voice quality will be something people will give attention to. The other thing is that he or she might be the person too much involved in their family. They can also be doing family business as well. They can also be someone who is more of a, a family person, family oriented person. Traditional values means a lot to them. The other thing is, Darakarka in the 8th house can also indicate that your spouse would be very much interested in hoarding wealth. He can also be fond of gold and jewels. All of these things will be there. But with the particular placement of the Darakaraka in the 8th house, what you have to see is very important, is the placement of Saturn in your Navamsa chart. Wherever the Saturn is placed in the Navamsa becomes very important. So it will actually define the dignity of your marriage, dignity of the personality of your spouse. Like if your Saturn is well placed in the 4th house, in the 10th house, or in the 7th house, in the 6th house, what it will show is that your partner is someone of a more hardworking sort of a personality. He is ready to do the hard work in your marriage, in the sustenance of your marriage. So if Saturn's dignity is good, the placement of the Darakarka becomes extremely well here in the D9's 8th house. But if the Saturn's dignity is a little bit compromised, the problems can be seen in the spouse and in his or her personality and in the marriage union as well. The other thing is that the Darakarka's position should always be studied with correspondence to the placement in the D1 chart. Wherever the Darakarka is placed in the D1 chart really tells a lot about the whole picture. So let's say if your Darakaraka is placed, it can be any planet, although the planet in itself will have so many different meanings. But yes, if your Darakaraka is placed, let's say in the 7th house in the D1 chart, so the D1 chart is the what of our life. The D9 is how of our life. So the what of our life is telling you that your partner, the Darakaraka, is directly impacting your union, your partnership. So basically, this position will mean in the seventh house in the D1, in the eighth in the D9, means that maybe you were not interested to marry him or her before your marriage, but you did marry, and now he is the anchor. Whatever positivity or negativity is being reflected in your marriage, in the D1 chart, in your partnerships, is because of the sustenance of marriage done by him. He is the one putting fuel into the whole dynamic of this marriage in the eighth house. So the seventh house placement on the D1 of the Darakarka and the eighth house placement of the Darakarka in the D9 suggests this thing. The placement of the Darakarka in other houses will tell us a different picture, will tell us a different story. So this is how you decode the placement of the Darakarka in the eighth house of your Navamsa. Although the sign, the nakshatra, and the planet itself will define so many things, but in the basic terms this will remain same. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the ninth house of your Navamsha chart. Now if you have your Darakaraka placed in the eighth house of your Navamsha chart, what you can expect out of this position is that your spouse is someone who will be tapping your hidden fears. They will be the person tapping it and healing it. So basically, with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the eighth house suggests that your spouse could have and could behave a kind of a catalyst in rejuvenation, about rejuvenation of your personality, of your own personality. They would focus on the sustenance of marriage. They will be the kind of person who will think that, the India, it is very prevalent that if you marry once, this is all. From here, we are a partner, we are a union, we are a team, and we'll move forward in this way only. So this is really a good placement from that perspective, that your partner would consider you as their own unit. Like you two are belonging to one single unit is what is their thinking is. In the marriage perspective, I'm telling. So the sustenance of marriage is really very important for them. It would be something, of a great deal to them, to their personality. That is why through this idea, the shared resources thing is something which can be very much prominent in your life, that you and your partner have so many joint bank accounts. You and your partner are, collectively invested in all the investment schemes, mutual funds, and all of these things. You both have a collective insurance. All of these things will be seen with the Darakaraka placed in the eighth house of your Navamsha chart. The other thing is, after marriage, you can also see transformations in your life, and that will be directly coming from your spouse. Maybe whatever he used to do before marriage, he or she suddenly abandons it and move into a completely different direction. But will it be a positive transformation or a negative one? That has to be analyzed from the specific chart. But some kind of transformation will be there for sure. The other thing is that your partner, specifically in his personality, he can have a magical voice, a sweet voice, or something like a unique voice. Like his voice or her voice quality will be something people will give attention to. The other thing is that he or she might be the person too much involved in their family. They can also be doing family business as well. They can also be someone who is more of a family person, family oriented person. Traditional values means a lot to them. The other thing is, Darakarka in the eighth house can also indicate that your spouse would be very much interested in hoarding wealth. He can also be fond of gold and jewels. All of these things will be there. But with the particular placement of the Darakaraka in the eighth house, what you have to see is very important, is the placement of Saturn in your Navamsha chart. Wherever the Saturn is placed in the Navamsha becomes very important. So it will actually define the dignity of your marriage, dignity of the personality of your spouse. Like if your Saturn is well placed in the fourth house, in the 10th house, or in the seventh house, in the sixth house, what it will show is that your partner is someone of a more hardworking sort of a personality. He is ready to do the hard work in your marriage, in the sustenance of your marriage. So if Saturn's dignity is good, the placement of the Darakarka becomes extremely well here in the D9's 8th house. But if the Saturn's dignity is a little bit compromised, the problems can be seen in the spouse and in his or her personality and in the marriage union as well. The other thing is that the Darakarka's position should always be studied with correspondence to the placement in the D1 chart. Wherever the Darakarka is placed in the D1 chart really tells a lot about the whole picture. So let's say if your Darakarka is placed, it can be any planet, although the planet in itself will have so many different meanings. But yes, if your Darakarka is placed, let's say in the 7th house in the D1 chart, so the D1 chart is the what of our life. The D9 is how of our life. So the what of our life is telling you that your partner, the Darakaraka, is directly impacting your union, your partnership. So basically, this position will mean in the 7th house in the D1, in the 8th in the D9, means that maybe you were not interested to marry him or her before your marriage, but you did marry, and now he is the anchor. Whatever positivity or negativity is being reflected in your marriage, in the D1 chart, in your partnerships, is because of the sustenance of marriage done by him. He is the one putting fuel into the whole dynamic of this marriage in the 8th house. So the 7th house placement in the D1 of the Darakaraka and the 8th house placement of the Darakaraka in the D9 suggests this thing. The placement of the Darakaraka in other houses will tell us a different picture, will tell us a different story. So this is how you decode the placement of the Darakaraka in the 8th house of your Navamsa. Although the sign, the nakshatra and the planet itself will define so many things, but in the basic terms this will remain same. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the 9th house of your Navamsa chart. Now if your Darakaraka is placed in the 9th house of your Navamsa chart, this is really a very good placement. Why? The Darakaraka brings in fortune of your life. Post marriage you will become more lucky, prosperous, and more fortunate. All of these things will be seen. So your marriage with this particular placement becomes like a blessing in your chart if your Darakaraka is in the 9th house. The other thing is he can also be a teacher to you. He or she can also be a teacher, a guide to you in some matters. Most probably the 9th house related matters, your philosophy, belief, religion, spirituality, all of these things can be seen that they are the people, your spouse, they are the people who are guiding all of these areas in your life. The other thing is that your spouse could have connections to some kind of university environment or some kind of teaching environment or mentoring environments also. Like they will have this capacity of Jupiter in them. This is really a very good placement if a benefic planet is your Darakaraka. The other thing is that your spouse would be a very good communicator. They particularly can be in a advertising or a communication related field. Technology related can also be seen. The efforts of your spouse are the key to your fortune in this life. This is what is seen with this particular placement. Your spouse would be very much interested in the gossips of their close friends and of their younger siblings. So this basically what this suggests is they will be very much connected to their younger sibling, your spouse. And if they have any younger sibling, they'll be very much connected to them. They'll be emotionally connected to them. You would have seen doing efforts, you would have seen them doing efforts in the areas in the life of the younger siblings. All of these things will be present in the personality of your spouse. The other thing is that the position of Jupiter is, it becomes very important in the Navamsa chart with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the 9th house. If your Jupiter is in a very good dignity, it suggests that your married life will be very good. Your spouse could be someone like a blessing, extreme blessing in your life if a Jupiter's dignity is extremely well. But if not, then also your spouse would be in a protector kind of a role. They will be the one protecting you from the problems, from the ill effects, from the challenges in your life. Even if the Jupiter's position is not very well placed in the Navamsa chart, then also this Jupiter will act in a positive manner only. This Darakaraka will act in the positive manner only. The other thing is that the Darakaraka's position in the D1 chart becomes very important. For you to get the whole picture, you should analyze the D1 placement of the Darakaraka too. because the D1 is the what of our life and the D9 is the how of our life. So it really becomes very important that you check both of these things, because, like, let's say if your Darakaraka is placed in the 10th house of your D1 chart, what you'll see is that your spouse is directly contributing in your career front. He's making it going upwards. He's the one boosting your career front. And how is he or she able to do so? Because they are bringing in wealth in your life, they are bringing in luck, fortune in your life, they are bringing in guidance in your life. This is how they are doing it. So the Darakaraka's position in the D1 chart becomes very important with correspondence to this D9 placement to know the whole picture. So that's how you decode the placement of the Darakaraka in the ninth house of your Navamsa chart. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakaraka in the 10th house of your Navamsa chart. So now when you have your Darakaraka placed in the 10th house of your Navamsa chart, so it becomes a very complex position. Shows that your career is directly being impacted by your spouse. Your spouse or your marriage could really be a catalyst in boosting your reputation, boosting your public dignity. So basically, what you suggest is that if you marry, you'll marry into a good household, into a good family. It will have a good name, proper name. Maybe the family of the doctors, or you see, this kind of a title is something they'll be having. The other thing is that your spouse is someone fulfilling or replacing the karakas of the father in your life. They would be the person who will be telling you what to do, what not to do, what is right, what is wrong, in a very good way, in a very positive way. So this placement of the Darakaraka in the 10th house becomes really important and extremely well if a good planet is placed there. Even if a malignant energy is there, then too it will go well. The other thing is that your spouse would be someone directly connected to homely comfort. He'll be focusing homely comfort very much, extremely. They will be the person ordering home decor stuff from Amazon or Flipkart regularly on the regular basis. This is something which you will see. The other thing is with this Darakaraka in the 10th house, they will be kind of an emotional person. They will be connected very much to their mother. It is all about emotions for them. So whenever you will marry in your life with this Darakaraka placed in the 10th house, it will be emotionally led for sure, at least from the side of your spouse. I don't know about you specifically because your fourth house of the D1 has to be checked for that matter, but for them, it is all about emotions. The other thing is, if particularly Mars is your Darakaraka, so they might have done or they might be interested in indoor sports, like whatever sports can be played indoors, like it does not require a field. It can also be chess, but for that Mercury and Rahu should also be there. But yes, the Mars, if the Mars is the Darakaraka, they could be in some kind of sports which is more related to, like maybe a javelin throw, maybe a this kind of a shot put throw. Like they are standing on this particular place, a field is not required. That kind of sports is something which they can be in if Mars is your Darakaraka placed in the 10th house of the Navamsa chart. The other thing is that with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the 10th house, you have to see and analyze four planets in your Navamsa chart. They are Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. All of these planets, particularly, will define the dignity of your married life. If all these four planets are in a good position, it's all good. If all these are in a little bit of compromise position, and then the things can go wrong. Then your spouse would become extremely emotional, that they will not be able to steer the ups and downs of the married life. Or any one of these planets in your chart is the Darakaraka, Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, or Saturn, then the whole analysis I have told you will be inclined towards only one planet. If let's say your Saturn is your Darakaraka, so they would be the person who will be emotionally very stable. They will be emotional from inside, but they will be extremely stable on the exterior. This is something which you will see, and they will be also hardworking in their own career and in their own home life too. That they will be the person who would want to renovate your home. regularly on regular basis. They would be the one who would be sharing responsibilities with you. They would want to share responsibilities with you because they believe that taking care of the home environment is also their duty. So all of these things will change with the particular planet, with the particular sign, but in the basic terms it will remain same. The other thing is that with the particular placement of the Darakarka in the 10th house in the Navamsa, you should always check the placement of the Darakarka in the D1 chart, where it is placed in which house in the D1, because the D1 is the what of our life and the D9 is the how of our life. So the Darakaraka placed in the D1 somewhere in some house will tell you where this thing of the Darakaraka is being reflected. So if your Darakaraka is placed in the first house of the D1, so it says that your Darakaraka is directly impacting your own personality. Why? Because they are in how they are impacting it, because they are in the 10th house of your Navamsha. They are making you move towards your career, move toward the betterment of your career, and they are an emotional being. All of these things are directly impacting your own personality. Now, will it be good or in a bad direction? That we'll have to analyze from the particular charts. But yes, the most basic term, all of these things will correspond to your particular placement of the Darakarka in the 10th house of your Navamsha chart. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the Darakarka in the 11th house of your Navamsha chart. Now, when you have your Darakarka placed in the 11th house of your Navamsha chart, or it can show is that your spouse can be the person who bring in the regular loop of gains in your life. They would be the person insisting upon your gains, upon how you make more wealth. Although their own wealth will be very much stabilized with this particular placement, but they will be insisting upon your wealth, how you are behaving, how you are doing, and it will really matter a lot to them. They will be the person insisting you to relate more and intermingle more with your social circle, go out and have fun with them, go on movies regularly with them. They will be insisting you to become a social being after marriage, if you were not before. And if you were before a social being, it will be enhanced after your marriage, because your spouse is the one contributing in that realm. The other thing is that with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the 11th house, that your own spouse would intermingle very good with your own elder sibling, because the 11th house is also your elder sibling. So maybe when you host a party, a family gathering, they're the people talking to your elder sibling in a corner. It will be really very enhanced kind of a family relation of your spouse with your elder sibling. The other thing is that they can also globally connect you to people. They can be that they can be behaving as a catalyst in making your international relations with people with this particular placement. The other thing is that your spouse's personality will be very much romantic. They'll be extremely romantic. They will be actually like a romantic Hollywood film. Their life would be. They would want everything to be, to be done in a dramatic way. They will be interested very much in the idea of romance. How is it that it is portrayed, it is lived? All of these things will entice them a lot. They will be great at executing their skills, whatever skills they have of any kind. If they are speaker, they'll be really a very good orator. If they are into some kind of a hand related skill, they'll be doing extremely well in those areas too. And your spouse could also have a creative side to them. They will be the creative people also. They will understand the creativity. They will understand what the artist is thinking, and they will respect all kind of artists around them. They will also actually, with this particular placement of the Darakarka in the 11th house, you can also see like your presence at social media platforms is being increased after your marriage. Why? Because your spouse is the one insisting you to show your work to the world via these social media platforms. So this is also something which is connected with this particular placement of the Darakaraka in the 11th house. The other thing is that the placement of the Jupiter becomes very important. All of these things which I have told, it cannot go into a totally negative side. But what you can see is, if your Jupiter's dignity in the Navamsha is not very good, what you can see is that uh, they are then will be the people, your spouse, they'll be protecting you from the ill effects of all of these things, social media, elder siblings, all of these things. They will be protecting you from. So Jupiter's placement is really very important to get the whole picture. If the Jupiter is well placed, it is all positive. If the Jupiter is in a bit of a compromised state, it is all about the protector role which they'll be playing in your life. This particular placement of the Darakarka in the 11th house. The other thing is that they will be also very much interested in creating progeny with you. So having children is also a thing which you will see that as a couple you uh, bear children too early in your married life. With this particular placement of the Darakarka in the 11th house, if you're in 5th house, if you own 5th house of the D9 chart and the D1 chart is not compromised in any kind of a situation. The other thing is with this Darakarka in the 11th house, you should always check the position of the Darakarka in the D1 chart. Why? The D1 chart is the what of our life and the D9 chart is the how of our life. So the what is the D1, how is the D9. So the D1 is more towards where all of these things are reflected in what area of your life. So let's say if your Darakarka is in the 4th house of your D1 chart, so your Darakarka is in the positive manner, increasing your homely comfort, emotional well-being, your security, your emotional security, and creating a safe boundary around yourself in your life. And how is he able to do this? Because he is directly impacting your own gains in the private life. He is directly impacting your own wealth. He is directly impacting your own social circle and your relationship with your elder siblings. All of these things are the how, and the what is answered from the Darakarka's position in the D1 chart. So Darakarka's position in the D1 chart has to be, it becomes important to be analyzed with corresponding to this D9 chart placement of the Darakarka. But in the most basic terms, this will remain same, although the colors will be filled by the signs, the nakshatras, the planet. It is whatever planet is your Darakaraka. But on the most basic terms, all of these things will remain same. So let's move forward and let's understand the Darakaraka's position in the 12th house of your Navamsa chart. So now when you have your Darakaraka placed in the 12th house of your Navamsa chart, so you'll think it is all bad. 12th house is all about losses, expenditure. This is not so. Because the 12th house is the place of the original place of the exaltation of the Venus, and Venus is the Karaka of the Navamsa chart. So this is something which has to be analyzed in a technical way. Now Darakarka is sitting in the 12th house in your Navamsa chart. What it shows is that your spouse is focused on your foreign relations and foreign travel. He wants to build something foreign, out of the world, out of the box. He would want to settle in a foreign land post marriage, and he would always say that I have a calling from a foreign land. And sometimes his ideas or his words, whatever he speaks, will not make much sense to you. You will be confused in sometimes, but it is not a very major thing. It will be in the minor sense. The other thing is that your spouse would be very particular of the time. He or she would be strictly sticking to their daily routine. They can also be doctors or in some kind of healing professions in some cases, but yes, this sticking to the daily routine thing will be extremely pronounced in their personality and will be present in their personality. The other thing is with this Darakarka in the 12th house of the Navamsa chart, what you can see is that planet, whichever planet is the Darakaraka in your chart, will have a great presence in their D1 chart. Whatever planet is your Darakaraka, be it Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, it will have great importance in their own particular chart, in their own D1 chart. The other thing is that they will be the person who would want to romanticize their married life. They want and they believe the marriage and the union between you and them is something of a most private thing. Like they would be the person who would have this idea that whatever we talk, whatever is our problem as a couple, it should not go out at any cost. They will be very specific to this particular condition of theirs. This is something important. The other thing is that if your Venus is well placed and if your Saturn is well placed, First, we'll take the Venus. If your Venus is extremely well placed in the D9 chart, Navamsa chart, they can also emphasize on imagination, and through that, they'll be led to isolation. What I mean to say is that they would be extremely wanting in some cases, that I want this, I want that, I want this out of my spouse, out of his personality, or out of her personality. And all of these things, if they are not present, I think I'm better off alone. So this isolation cause can also be there. But the Venus position has to be specifically analyzed for this. What the Venus is indicating that. The other planet is Saturn. Saturn becomes very important with this particular placement. If the Saturn is in a good dignity, all of the karakas I have told you will go into the positive manner. Like they would want isolation from you because it is needed by their profession, or they would want you to behave in such a manner that private talks should not go out of a private room, is because of their necessity. All of these things will be out of necessity and will move into a positive direction. If Saturn is placed, it is well placed in your Navamsa chart. If Saturn is not very well placed in your Navamsa chart, what you will see is that you will have problems then in the married life. For that, the particular planet has to be analyzed then. The loss and those karakas of, disappointment, all of these things can actually be triggered in your life. Debilitation of Saturn is not a compromised thing. It is not compromising its dignity. The aspects, the conjunctions, and the trikon it is making, actually the placement of the Saturn in the D1, all of these things has to be analyzed. Then the Saturn's position in the D1 will become important, will actually contribute in deciding its dignity. It is not only based on the particular one position, but what you can see is it is really a kind of a neutral placement, even if the Saturn's dignity is compromised. Why? Because Saturn is the karma karaka, and if you do the adequate karma, whichever whatever is destined in your married life, in your Navamsha, then all of these things can be mended. Then all of these things, the problems can get neutralized. The other thing is that you should also check the Darakarka's position in the D1 chart, because the D1 is the what of our life and the D9 is the how of our life. Whatever things are happening here in the D9 are being reflected in the D1 chart. So what does it show is, let's say if your Darakarka is placed in the 6th house in your D1 chart, what it shows is that your challenges, your competitive spirit, all of these things are led by the fact that your spouse is actually organizing you, and he is the person who is really disciplined in his life. And of course, I forgot this, your spouse can also be of a very competitive spirit too, if Rahu is well placed in their horoscope. So yes, the competitiveness can also be seen in the wrong direction. They can start competing with you also sometimes, but that then has to be analyzed from their chart, and we cannot specifically say if it will happen or not. So all of these things will depend. So what I was saying is that the D1, the Karaka's placement, is very important because it has to be then analyzed in the correspondence to the D9 placement of the Darakarka, making you connecting with foreign people, foreign relations, settling in your foreign land, and investing you, getting you more invested and financially organized. All of these things will be seen then from this particular placement of the Darakarka in the 12th house of your Navamsha chart. So this was my understanding about how your Darakarka will perform placed in a particular house in the D9 chart. Now you'll have to comment below if you want the same kind of a video for the D1 chart, Darakarka in all the houses. Tell me in the comment section below if you want it or not. And if you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and share it with your friends and family. And subscribe Galactic Echoes Astrology. Thank you.